All right, good morning, everyone. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Make sure you guys are putting your name in the chat for attendance purposes. And I am going to get us started this week. So this is our last week together. This is our last chance to get ourselves ready for the CASAS test. A couple of you were already taking your CASAS test, so good job there. I am just hoping to get you guys ready for that, assuage some of your fears, and make sure you guys are nice and prepared for that for next week. All right, so we're gonna go over some things. We're gonna do some announcements and get you guys started and situated for the week. All right, think about, while I'm going through these announcements, think about any questions you still have, any things that you still need to work on, and think about, we're gonna be working out of our week 11 folder, but we're also gonna be going back to some of our previous things. There is an exit ticket in there that you guys can work on if you don't have any current questions right now, but start thinking about some questions and other things that you would like to review and have me go over. That's what we're going to try to focus on today. But I do have some announcements I need to get through, so I'm going to start with those. All right. Okay. All right. So testing is next week, both remote and on site. I have the schedule for all of you who are testing, when and at what time. I'm also going to make sure I put an announcement in Schoology for you guys right now that will cover some of the CASAS testing. All right, you guys are going to get announcements and notifications about when your CASAS day is via email or a phone call or maybe both. There's going to be a lot of communication coming out to you about when your CASAS date is, when you are scheduled and when you're supposed to go in for CASAS testing. Some of you may not be scheduled for CASAS testing because you just don't have quite enough hours to warrant testing, but most of you will be testing. So we're going to make sure that we go over that. Okay. Just based on the people who are currently in the room with me, I can remind you all of when you all are CASAS testing. So let me do that. All right, so, okay, it looks like nobody in here is doing remote CASAS testing, so all of you are coming in person if you're coming at all. All right, let me pull up the schedule. All right. Okay. So Ebony, you are on Monday, the 14th. All right, so make sure you report by 9:30 on Monday for CASAS testing. So Monday the 14th. That would mean that on the 15th is when we should have everybody else. Let me double check.
Question.
Yes,
What time on Monday?
9:30
8 a.m.
a.m.
Okay, dokie.
All right, let's see. So that means that Marvin and Toya, yep, you guys are both on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Okay, all right, so that is the schedule. If for some reason, please do try to make that day. If some reason you cannot make it that day, we are going to have the 17th as makeup testing, but we're trying to avoid that at all costs. So please try to make it on your assigned day and
So that's Tuesday, December 15th at 9:30.
at 9:30. Yep, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Okay, and again, the 17th is an option, but is really just if something emergent happens where you can't make it. All right. So that is CASAS testing. That's happening next week in person. Okay, good morning, Patricia. And so, yeah, that's going to be the goal for that. All right. So that's CASAS testing. That's taken care of. Remember that the homeroom will continue to have your weekly announcements. Final rounds of trivia are up. There are going to be 3 opportunities to win this week. And the people who won last week already posted as well. Nobody is in this class that won last week. And that's it. I think those are all of the main announcements for this week. So good job there, guys. All right. So the next thing we're gonna look at is just some feedback, okay, about what help you all may need, or what things we can do to help you guys be more successful as we're thinking about next term. We don't know what next term is going to look like still. We're still trying to decide if there's going to be some sort of in-person element to next term, but more than likely we're going to have to continue to be online. Everybody's watching the news. Everybody knows what's going on as far as the virus, so we can't really expect a sudden change in conditions because we're all waiting on this vaccine to make things different, and when we still don't know when and how the vaccines will be available to everybody. So um, we're going to assume that for the most part we might be online. And so how do we make this online environment more inviting to you all? So for let us take a look at, I'm going to share my Schoology screen for a second. All right, so in Schoology, I did in your class post a new poll, just a nice easy poll about whether or not you learned any new things this term, yes or no. And then also in your course, in the week 11 folder, the only red folder, I want you to elaborate a little bit more. So if you did learn something, tell me what it is that you learned this term. What did you learn? Right. So give yourself a moment to just kind of think about what you have learned and go ahead and put it in here. Also tell me what questions you still have about things and what do you need more work on. Obviously, I know fractions, fractions. But if there's anything else you want to share, also be sure to share it here. This one is just for me. It's not going to be shared with anybody. I just want to know what you guys learned this term. All right. So let's
Okay.
get started, I do want to go over this exit ticket because I think it would be helpful for us to kind of learn a little bit, to review a little bit about some of the work from last week. I know last week's work was pretty challenging for most of you. Graphing usually is a harder concept, so we're going to go over that work in general, but I do want to start with the exit ticket as it'll be a good way to refresh, and we'll go over that. But before we jump in and dive into that, I just want to make sure that there are no pressing questions about anything that I need to get into first before I tackle this exit ticket. So any questions? You're like, I really need to ask about this or this or this. No?
Let me go back.
No? None yet? All right, well, stop me if there is a question, and I'll make sure to add that to the question list and go over that. But we will
Okay.
start with the exit ticket, and then I'll pause again for more questions and go back and review some of last week's work because I know that was challenging. All right, so let's start here with this exit ticket in week 11.
Hardcover Student Bible.
Sorry, excuse me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right, so this will be a nice little recap of the last couple weeks. So we're going to try to locate these points first and foremost. So we have point A. We know that point A is at the location 5, 3. Where is point B? What location is point B at? What is the coordinates for point B? A is at 5, 3, so maybe that will help if you take a look at A and maybe figure out how they got A. How would you get B? Where is B located?
-3, 1.
Correct, exactly. B is at -3, 1. And we know that because we just have to figure out where it is along the x-axis. So you figure out what the horizontal location is first, and then we go up to the vertical. And so B is in fact at -3, 1.
Okay. See.
All right, where is C? What location is C at?
-6, -4.
Perfect. Yep, that's -6, -4. Right. Marvin, where is D?
Where D? Oh, oh yeah, D. Okay, so D's right here on number on 3 where 0, but it's in it right here on -3 though.
Okay, so what's the location? You would say
0, 0, -3.
so 0, -3. Right, good. Right, you always want to put the X location first and then the Y location. Right, 0, -3. Perfect. All right. Where is E? What unique location is E in?
It's at the origin.
The order.
Yes, good. E is at the origin. Good, so you can put origin. I feel like
So
that's
you put origin, or can you put 0, 0?
perfect. You can do either one.
Okay, cool.
0, 0, or you can just call it the origin. All right, and finally, where is F?
4, 4, -5.
Perfect. All right, and it's your last one. All right, so always make sure to use your parentheses and a comma to separate the two locations. Remember, your X location is first, your Y location is second. All right, and that's all there is to that. Hopefully there's no questions. If there are, let me know. And then we'll do the second and final part of that.
I have a question.
Yep.
We always have to put the parentheses, right?
Yes, yep, absolutely. Yep. The parentheses are an important part of your coordinate. Yep. That's how you let people know that it's a set of coordinates.
Okay.
Okay, great. So now if we look at this one, it says fill in the missing values in the t table for the equation y is equal to 4x minus 6. So we have x and y for our table, right? And these are the x values and these are the y values down here. So in order to get the y values, you have to replace the x with these numbers. So instead of using x, we're going to put in -1. So we're going to have 4 times -1 minus 6. What is that going to give us if we replace x with -1? So we have 4 times -1 minus 6. What's 4 times -1 going to be?
-4.
Very good. And then -4 minus 6. It's going to give us
-10.
Perfect. That's it. All right, so -10 is your answer there. All right, so now we're going to replace the x with 0 to do our next example. So we're going to have 4 times 0 minus 6. 4 times 0 obviously is going to give us 0. 0 minus 6 is just -6. All right. Now for this one, we're going to replace the x with 1. So we're going to have 4 times 1, which gives us 4. What's 4 minus 6?
-2.
Perfect. All right, and so basically what we can tell here, we should be able to see a pattern, right? So we can continue to use our equation, which is fine, or we can use our pattern. We're obviously just, every time we go up by 1, we're going up by 4 in the y, right? So that means I can predict that my next answer should be +2, right? Even before I do the equation, because I just added 4 to this answer. I should be able to do that. It should work out. So let's try it. I'm going to replace the x with 2, right? I'm going to have 4 times 2, which is going to give me 8. And what's 8 minus 6?
2.
2. It worked out. All right. Okay, so my pattern definitely helped me there to figure out that answer. All right, so now it's the opposite, right? They give me the y value, which is 10, and they want me to figure out what x is. So what do I need to do? What do I do in that situation?
Subtract 10 from both sides.
So first I'm going to do is replace this y with the value that I'm given, which is 10.
10.
So 10 is equal to 4x minus 6. And in this case, I'm trying to get the x by itself. So I'm actually going to add 6 to both sides.
Okay.
That's going to be my next step. It's going to cancel out the 6's here on the right. And 10 plus 6 is going to give me
16.
Yeah, give you 16.
good. So 16 is equal to 4x. And now what's going to be my final step to figure out what the value of
You basically you divide it,
Mhm.
On
Just
both
gonna
sides.
divide both
and that'll
sides
be it.
by.
Basically be 4 times. 4 times. It'd be 4.
Good. So 16 divided by 4 is going to give me 4. So x is equal to 4.
X. What I did. Well,
Can
Okay.
you write this down, please?
I'm sorry?
I want to write this down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I won't erase it.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right, so that is basically how you go about solving an equation or using an equation to help you solve problems. This is always going to be the same steps. It's always going to be what you guys are working on to do that. As you guys continue on in level 4, those of you who will be continuing on in math, I know some of you will be leaving me because you got your NEDP score and you're like, deuces, I'm done with math. I don't have to do it anymore. But those who will continue on will be working on more equations in the next term, working on, solving them and doing this process with elimination and substitution, all of these things. You're going to get a really good review of that on how to do that and hopefully feel more confident working with equations. But this is, again, just the introduction to it. Okay. But yeah, this is how it works. This is the normal process of using an equation to solve a problem. All right. Very good. We're going to take a look now. If there aren't any questions, we're going to take a look now at what we had to do last week, working with the practice number 2, working on those slope problems. Those slope problems were pretty challenging. So I want to go back and do that because slope is a lot of work. It's a lot of concepts and a lot of things to remember. So we're going to take a look at that right now. Go ahead and clear these drawings. I'm going to go to this. Okay. So I'm going to back up to week 10. And again, I'm going to open up practice number 2. All right, and we're going to work on this. All right, so I'm going to write down one of the first things that we need to know and kind of keep in mind as we're working on these first few exercises. We have to remember what the equation of a linear function or a line is, right? And this is the standard equation for a line, also known as a linear function.
Which practice is this, Mr. D?
This is practice 2 from week 10.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
No problem. So remember that we're dealing with this. Y is equal to mx plus b. And your m and your b stand for really specific things. And they're told right here, right? The slope is your m and your y-intercept is your b. And what this means is that the numbers that are found in those locations are the numbers that you write for your m and for your b. Right? So it's really simple as long as you understand this, how to identify those numbers. So if I look at this first equation for this first function, it says y is equal to 4x minus 1. So if I look at this, I should be able to identify both my m and my b. What's my m in this equation? The m should be the number in front of the x. So what's the number in front of x?
4.
4. So my m is 4. My b should be the number behind the x. What's the number behind the x?
-1.
-1. That's it. So that's all we're looking for when we do this, okay? So if you're given the equation and asked to identify the slope and the y-intercept, that's literally all you're doing is looking for the number before the exponent, before the variable, excuse me, and the number after the variable is going to be your b. So there's a special name for the number that comes before the variable. This is called the coefficient. In this case, in a linear function, your coefficient always represents your slope, right? So it's the coefficient, which is just the number in front of the variable. Coefficient of x is equal to your slope, okay? All right, so if we know that, we should be able to identify it for these other two as well. Let's try it with letter B. What's my m for letter B? What do I see here?
Negative 6/5.
Perfect. Okay, that is my m. Always make sure you include the entire thing, whatever you see before the x is your slope. So it's negative 6/5. All right, what's my slope for letter C?
-1.
Perfect. Whenever I don't see a number, I have to assume that it's 1, but in this case, I have a negative, so it's a -1. Beautiful. Great job. All right, so what is my B for letter B?
-5.
Great. And for C?
1/2.
Yep. That's it. All right, so this one is really straightforward. All you're doing is identifying those pieces. Once you can identify those pieces, you can answer this question. This is something that you should be able to do, is at least identify, okay? So if we can do nothing else, make sure that you can identify the pieces.
All right.
For number 2, I'm asking you to work backwards. So in number 1, you have to identify these pieces, the M and the B. Here, I'm asking you to take the M and the B and to put them into this format, right? Seems
Okay.
difficult, but it's not. All we have to do is take the same skeleton, y equals mx plus b, replace the m with the value that you're given here, and replace the b with the value that you're given here. All right, so for this first one, it's just going to be y is equal to 10 over 7x minus 2. Right? Since my b is negative, I'm going to take that plus sign away and just put minus 2. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's do the same thing with letter B. My m is 1 and my b is equal to 3. So what am I going to have as my equation? Y is equal to what?
Y is equal to 1x.
1x? Almost, not 1x. What do I do when there's a 1?
X.
Ah, good. Y is equal to x. Perfect. Now what? Y is equal to x.
X plus x plus 3.
That's it. Y is equal to x plus 3. Whenever there's a 1, I don't need to write it. I can just write the variable x. Okay, beautiful. All right, what about letter C? This one's a little bit challenging here. It says m is equal to 0, b is equal to 5. What do I do with this 0?
You keep it, right?
So what's 0 times anything?
0.
right? So if I have 0x, that's the same as writing 0 or not
0.
writing anything at all, right? So I don't need to put anything for the x. I just need to have my y-intercept. So in this case, my equation is just going to be very simple. It's going to be y is equal to 5. Because I'm not going to write y is equal to 0 plus 5. What's 0 plus 5? It's just 5.
5.
Right?
Right, okay.
So it's just y is equal to 5. All right, so these first two all refer back to directly using this equation for a line. Y is equal to mx plus b. Right? That's going to be something that's super essential. The next points use a little bit something that's much more complicated, which is understanding the definition of slope. So we're going to move into that. I'm going to slide this down. I'm going to remove these drawings. All right, so we have to understand a couple of things. One, our definition of slope. M is the variable that we use to represent slope. And slope, of course, is our rise over run. It tells us how fast or slow something is increasing or decreasing. It's our rise over run. And then we have this special thing known as the slope formula. The slope formula says that m is equal to the y value from one point minus the y value from another point divided by the x value from that same first point minus the x value from that same second point. Okay? So when we plug this in, we don't care about this 2 and 1 really. We put it in there just to identify that they are two different points. Okay, what's important is that it is two different points. So we have this formula and we just plug these numbers in. Okay, it doesn't matter which point is point 1 and which point is point 2 as long as we are consistent. So if I say that this is point 1 and I'm going to put this in over here on the right, I just have to make sure that I'm putting both the -7 and the -6 on the right. If I call it point 2 and I'm going to put it in first, I just to make sure that both of those numbers are being put in first. But again, it does not matter. You do it in any order as long as you're doing the separate points from each other and that you're consistent. Okay, so I'm going to use this slope formula here to solve question number 3. And so I'm going to call the first point, point 1, the second point, point 2, and I'm going to put it into this equation. So that means I'm going to do -2 as my y2 minus -7 as my y1 over, because this is my point 2, right? It's going to be first. I have to now use that x value, 4 minus -6, right? Whenever this happens in your slope formula, and it will happen often where you have these two negatives in a row, you pretend that it's just an addition problem. So now it's -2 plus 7. What's -2 plus 7? -2 plus 7. It's going to give me 5. And then I have 4 plus 6, which is 10. 5 over 10, I can reduce to just 1/2. So my slope for number 3, my m is just equal to 1/2. Again, it doesn't matter how I've chosen my points, but what is important is that I am consistent. So I will show you the exact same thing, but I will now switch my order, right? I'm going to do -7 minus -2 over -6 minus 4. -7 plus 2 gives me -5. -6 minus 4 gives me -10. My negatives are going to cancel each other out. I'm going to end up again with 5 over 10, which I reduce to 1/2. So again, it does not matter. As long as you are consistent by choosing either point as 1 or 2, you're going to be fine. The problem is going to come if I switch it up and I do, oh, this is my point 1, -7 plus 2, and then at the bottom, I make a mistake and put the 4 first, right? So I just have to be consistent. If this is first, then this is on the left. Both points are on the left. If this is first, then both of those points are on the left, right? It does not matter. You're going to end up with your same answer if you're consistent, all right? So this is how you use your slope formula to find your slope. So you can do that. You can use your slope formula to find the slope whenever you're given 2 points, like in number 3, or like in number 4 when you're given a table, because then you can just choose 2 points to put into the slope formula to solve it. All right, so I'm going to delete some things here. Okay, and we're going to try number 4. Any questions so far? Okay. All right, so again, for number 4, we're going to use the slope formula again. This is the slope formula, but now we just have to choose 2 points. And it doesn't matter what 2 points we choose. They don't have to be next to each other. They can be any 2 points, and we can use them to get our slope. Does anybody want to choose our points for us? Anybody feeling particularly good about certain points? Does it matter to anybody, or I can just choose any points? No, no one cares?
Any
Okay,
points?
any points. I'm going to choose this one and this one. These are my 2 points that I'm choosing. Okay, and so I'm going to put them into my equation. I'm going to call this 2, this 1. So I'm going to do 6 minus -2 over -3 minus 1. Okay, so 6 plus 2 is just 8. -3 minus 1 is -4. 8 divided by 4 is just 2. So my slope is, don't forget my negative, it's -2. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I found my slope. That's what it was looking for. It says find the slope of the line given the table below, right? I don't have the equation. If I had the equation for this line, it would be really easy. I'm just looking for the number in front of the x, right? But I don't have it. And same thing in number 3. I don't have the equation for the line. So how do I find my slope? I put it into the slope formula using those 2 points. If I'm given the table, I choose 2 points, right? This is where it becomes difficult because I have my choice. And people don't like choice, right? As soon as you give someone a choice on a math test, they're like, nope, I don't want to do that. there are too many options. I can't. But it really doesn't matter which one you choose. As long as you're consistent, you're going to get the right answer. Now, how can I check to see if this is right? Well, all I have to do is look at my table. It says it's -2 is my slope. So basically all I have to look at is like, as I increase on my X value, am I going down on my Y value? Oh, I am. Yeah. So it seems pretty consistent here, right? I don't know the equation, so I can't just plug something in to know for sure, but I got a negative result as my slope. As I'm increasing on the X, is this going down? It sure is. So that's really the only thing I can really do to check to see is like if that makes sense. If I get a positive slope, but I'm going down, I'm like, ooh, what happened, right? But that's really all you can do to make sure there. All right. So our slope formula is pretty clutch in helping us find our slope if we're only given the points or a table. What happens when we have an example like number 5? What would I do to find the slope of this graph? I'm not given the points. I'm not given the equation. I'm not given the table. So what do? How do I figure out the slope of this graph? Any ideas? What should I do here? Crying is not an option. So what do I do? What to do? What to do? All right, if you're ever in this situation where you're just given the graph and you're asked to find the slope, you look at your graph and you try to find locations where it crosses exactly on the hash marks of your graph, right? So exactly at the intersection. So like right here, this is a good point. I'm going to circle this point here, and you're going to look for 2 of these, right? You only need 2. There might be more, but you need to find at least 2. You don't want something that's almost there. Like this is pretty close. No, you want something that's exactly on the marks, right? So these aren't going to work. This isn't going to work. Oh, here we go. Here's one, right? This passes exactly through those points, right? Once you've selected 2 of them, because you only need 2, you just have to write down the locations of those points. So where is this point located? I have to count, but where is this point located? What's the location of this point? Okay, so I heard 2. It's definitely 1, 2. Good.
2,
2 is my X. And then what's my Y?
2,4.
Perfect. So that's the location of that point. Where is this point?
What point? Oh, so -2.
Good. And then I go up by
1.
perfect. So now I have 2 points and I have their locations. I'm going to use my slope formula, right? So I'm going to plug them into the slope formula. I'm going to do 4 minus 1 over 2 minus -2. 4 minus 1 is going to give me 3. 2 plus 2 is going to give me 4. So this is my slope. My slope is 3/4. Okay. So to write those down into steps, so you have to locate your points. Write the coordinates. and then use your slope formula. Okay, so this slope formula is going to be very helpful when you don't have your equation, right? We notice that when you have your equation, it's much easier to figure out your slope, but without your equation, you need your slope formula to find the slope, right? And you always need at least 2 points. So you either have to be given those 2 points, choose those 2 points from a table, or locate those 2 points in a graph. Again, I'm very much missing the fact that I can't have a Vanna White moment right now. This would be a great time to just show off my gesturing skills. See, look, but I can't do it. All right, questions, comments, concerns, or complaints? All right, let's see what's next on here because I already forgot what's the next thing on this page. Okay, so basically this is just having us use the slope formula more, doing those examples that we did before, right? Where you guys are using the slope formula to locate it using 2 points, and also use the slope formula after you have to find the 2 points on your graph. So since I went through a couple of examples of this already, I want you guys to try it on your own. So try letter A, right? Using your slope formula, which is written right here, to find the slope for letter A. And then also try it for this first graph. Like try locating the points and then putting it into your slope formula. So we're going to do just this first graph on the left and letter A. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do that on your own. And then we're going to come back and check the answer. So I'll give you exactly 2 minutes to do that. And then we'll come back and see how you guys did.
So sorry about that. Hello. We're doing this again. Do you know what we're doing? I'm sorry, but
No, no worries. So we're just using the slope formula to try to find the slope for letter A and also for this first graph.
okay.
Yeah, so you're just working on finding the slope using the slope formula for letter A and this first graph.
All right.
Yep, so letter A and this first graph here. Yep. Okay, so let's check. What did you guys get as your slope for letter A? What did you get as the slope? To make sure you're plugging in your y values first, and then your x values, but you're using the slope formula right here. So what did you guys get as your slope?
Um,
Uh-oh, were we having problems with it? What happened? What
yeah,
did-
can we talk about the setup?
Okay, so you just have to choose one of your y values to be first. So which one is going to be first, the -7 or the -3?
I put the -3.
Okay, so -3 minus -7. All right, so if my -3 is
So-
first, okay, go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead, ask a question. Yeah,
Would that be plus
good.
7?
Good, exactly. All right, we have to finish our setup though, right? So we have -3 minus -7, which becomes -3 plus 7. If I put my -3 first, that means my 5 has to be first at the bottom, right? So now
Right.
5 minus 8, okay? So
8,
this is, my
okay.
setup is ready, and now I can begin calculating, right? So now I have -3 plus 7. So what is -3 plus 7?
That's 4.
Perfect. And 5 minus 8?
-3.
Perfect. So that's it. That's my slope. My slope is -4/3.
Oh, okay. I
Yep.
was kind of stuck, but okay.
Yep. Yeah. There's no reason to be stuck. It really is as straightforward as it seems. You do have to make a choice, and I think that's the biggest problem. Is whenever there's choice in math, people are like, "Nope, I'm doing it wrong." Just make your choice and stick with it. Okay. All right. So it's going to be the same thing for letter B. So we're going to try letter B here.
Okay.
I want you guys to get used to it. So just choose which one is going to be first and which one is going to be second, and just plug it in. So which one is going to be first, my 11 or my 9?
11.
Okay, so 11 minus 9 over, because my 11 was first, my 5 has to be first, right? Over 5 minus -5. Now that you have your setup, you just calculate. So what did you get as your slope? I'm not going to do it. You guys do it.
2/10.
Great. Right, so remember you can reduce that though, right? Because 2 and 10 are both reducible by 2. So it's actually 1/5. But yeah, that's exactly it. Okay? So that's your slope, 1/5.
So we should always reduce.
Always, 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 always. I know how much you guys love fractions. But whenever you have a fraction, yes, you always need to reduce it. Always, always, always.
Okay.
All right, so like if you get 2/10, so you're like, why can't I find that answer in my answer sheet? It's probably because it has been reduced to 1/5. Okay, so now let's try the graphs. So we have to, first thing we have to do is locate points, right? We have to locate at least 2 points. There seems to be a few that we can choose from here in this graph, but let's choose a couple points. We have to choose basically where we see a perfect intersection, right? So that counts as one. That's definitely a perfect intersection. This is definitely a perfect intersection. Okay, and so now you just have to load, you have to give the coordinates for 2 of these points.
Okay.
It doesn't matter which 2, but we need 2 of them.
So we could do the bottom one is 2,
2,
comma 0.
Yep. That's that one. Okay.
And then the top.
This one up here?
Yeah, that's -2, comma 2.
Perfect. All right, so now I have my 2 points, and I'm going to again use my slope formula to try to find the slope of this one. So I'm going to say that 2 is the one I'm going to start with. So I'm just going to go 2 minus 0 over -2 minus 2. 2 minus 0 is going to give me 2. -2 minus 2 is -4. And so I can reduce that to just 1/2. So it's -1/2 is my slope. Okay. All right, but that's actually how we do that, right? That's how we find that slope. They want us to write the equation. We're going to get to the equation in a second, but I want us to find the slope of the next graph too. So following those exact same steps, so locate some points, make sure you write the coordinates of 2 of them, and then put them into this formula and tell me what slope you get for this one. I'm not going to do it. I want you guys to do it, but we're going to do it, and then we're going to go back and make the whole equation. I'm going to show you guys how to make the whole equation once you have the slope. All right, let me move this out of the way. Okay, so go ahead and locate your points. I'll go ahead and locate them for you because this one is a perfect intersection and so is this one. Those are your only 2 perfect intersections. So that can make it easier for you. So just find the slope. All right, did you guys get a slope for me? Where are the locations of these 2 points? That's where you have to start. Where are these 2 points located?
So basically 1 and over on 5, right? So, sorry, all right. Okay, so basically right now we're saying that number. So we know 0, that's right there, but then also on top of that,
Okay, so that's 0, 0. So where's this
0,
one? You just have to
0.
count.
Yeah, count backward and then count on top. That 2, go on top, that'll be, that look like, that'll be 2. Be 2, and then that 4.
1, 2, 3, right?
3, oh, 3, yes.
Okay, so 2, 3. Okay, so now you can put those points into your slope formula. What did you get for your slope?
I have to get, I guess myself. It will be like, so basically be like 0, like, hold on.
Gonna put them into the slope formula. So it's going to be 3 minus 0 over 2.
Oh, 2, then 2 over minus 0.
So then what's your slope going to be?
Oh, we're gonna be, okay, I know that'll be 3, and that will be 2, so 3 over 2.
Yep, that's your slope. Just 3 over 2. Okay, so now that you have your slope, right, the next thing you have to identify is your y-intercept. So where does the graph interact with the y-axis? Where does it cross the y-axis? In this first graph, it crosses it at 1. So your b is equal to 1. Your m is equal to 1/2. So you just put that into your equation, y equals mx plus b. So for that equation, it's just going to be y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. That's that first equation. For number 2, where does it cross the y-axis? It crosses at 0. So the b is equal to 0. So for this equation, it's just y is equal to 3/2 x, right? You don't have a b. You don't need to write the b because the b is 0. So you don't need to add 0 on there. And then that's how you do that, okay? So I just wanted to give you guys the tools to be able to do this. So now you guys have those tools. I suggest that you practice it and you go back and work on this document when you have a chance, all right? And because I think everything else is just a repeat of what we've been doing. Let me just double check here. I'm going to scroll down in the document quickly to make sure there's nothing new. Yep, just more repeating of that. Identifying the M and the B, you guys can do that. Okay, all right. So work on that. I'm going to scroll down again. This is on page 3. Yeah, you guys can also do this. I think you guys can do this. Yeah, you don't need my help with that. Okay, so try it. See if you guys can do it. It's a lot of repeating some of the same concepts we went over. It's a good idea to practice it. If you have questions, come back with questions. I do want to show you one more thing. So in your week 11 folder, going back to week 11, your review week folder, you will see that there is a CASAS practice assessment. So there is an assessment in here with a few questions. You guys can, it is timed, and I think it's timed for too much time. I might have to cut it down a little bit, but it's plenty of time for you to do it. And the goal is not to rush through it, but to think about it as whether or not, if this was like a CASAS test, how you would do it. So you can use a calculator just like you would be able to use on the CASAS test. It goes through all of the concepts that we've learned so far this year. And again, it's usually just a repeat of things that you've seen already. So you've seen these questions before, and it's about being able to apply these concepts. I would like you guys to do this before our next meeting on Wednesday, to do it at least one time. I would suggest probably not doing it the second time. You guys have 2 chances to do it, right? But I would suggest not doing it the second time until you have a chance to go over it, right? It will tell you which ones are wrong, and it'll also tell you the right answers. But there are a couple that are fill in the blank, right? So I have to go back and grade them before you'll see the right answers. So that's why I say to pause, like take it once, pause, and let me grade it maybe, and then you can go back and do it again. But I would suggest doing it at least one time before Wednesday. And the reason is because any topic that you're doing and you don't understand, you could be like, oh, Mr. G, we need to go over this again because I've completely forgotten how to do this, right? And it'll give you a chance to prepare yourself for Wednesday to be like, here's what I have questions about before we take this CASAS test next week. So I do encourage you guys to do that. Please take a look at that practice and try to do it before Wednesday of this week. And again, you can take it the second time after Wednesday of this week, maybe after you feel more confident about a topic that you did not feel confident about before. Okay, so that's my suggestion for this week on what to do. Do make sure that you give me some feedback about what you learned this term or what you still have questions about. Also make sure to give me feedback about anything that you think needs to change for next term. Don't forget to do that. Before I just devolve into like asking if there's any more questions or anything like that, we have about 10 minutes left of class, so there's plenty of time to go over something if you need me to go over it. I do want to shout out Renee, who is on the call because she took her CASAS test on Friday. How did it go, Renee? Can you share
It
with
was
us?
scary.
It was scary. How did
But I
you
do
do?
have to say, when you're taking it, take a deep breath before you take it and take your time and read the questions. That's what tripped me up every time was I didn't take my time to read the question.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Do take your time and read the question. Did you run out of time at the end?
No, I finished it in time, and actually I did improve.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
I forgot what I improved, how many points, but I did improve thanks to Mr. G.
It was a significant improvement. It was a very, very unexpected amount of improvement. Like no, and I'm not saying that to like because I think that you are a bad student or anything. It's just because of the fact that like you don't normally make that big of an improvement on the CASAS test after only one term, right? So it was a really large improvement. And what I think is important about what she just said though is that she didn't run out of time, right? I think that's the biggest concern that people have is the time.
Right.
So take your time, read these questions and don't rush through it because you do have time to think about it and try to make the right decision. If it's something that you just can't remember right now, flag it, put a little flag next to it, be like, I'll come back to that question later. I don't remember how to do this. Okay.
Yep,
but
that's what I did.
yeah.
I did that. I flagged them, yes.
Yeah. Because it's not worth your time to sit there and be like, let me spend 20 minutes trying to remember how to do this one question when there are 15 questions left. You know what I mean? So just use your time wisely, be calm, and you can definitely do it. You know, the goal is usually about a 3-point improvement. And we're talking about double-digit improvement for Miss Renee. So congratulations to you.
Well, that was because of you, Mr. G. You're
no, it was not because of me, because I didn't take the test.
It was because of your teaching.
I did not take that test, right? So
I learned a lot of new things in your class.
All right.
I have one question about that test. So now that I've taken it, so what do I do next term? Am I taking math with you again, or how does it work?
So yeah, so I mean, the last hurdle for you is going to be making sure that you get that writing score. And once you got that writing score, you'll be in the NADP program. So you won't be working necessarily with classes unless you want to be in classes. But now that you've scored that math score, you don't need to be in math ever again, essentially. So it'll be up to you because you'll still be a student at Academy of Hope. So you can do whatever you want after that point. So if you want to take classes just as a refresher to keep yourself active and your mind active, you can do that. Or you can just choose to focus on your NADP studies. So
yes, I want to stay in math class.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just make sure that you you select that option. Well, not select, just let Dawn know so that she can let people know that you still want to be scheduled for classes. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, any other questions for me for today? All right, ladies and gentlemen, then have a great rest of your Monday. Do be sure to go in and take that CASAS practice test, and I will see you all on Wednesday.
Wednesday. But then,
Okay.
so basically I'll say this, do the first time now,
Yep.
and then do the second one on Wednesdays.
Yeah, after you've had time to go over it on Wednesday, right? Like after class and we've had a time to discuss it, then you can take the second one. Yep.
Okay, okay.
All right.
All right, y'all have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye, Marvin.